From Rick Harrison being sued by his own mother, to Chumlee's run-in with the law for allegedly dealing in drugs and weapons, here's the truth behind your favorite Pawn Stars experts. Look, I've got to be honest, a lot has to go wrong for your mom to have you served with a subpoena, and I can't even imagine what that must feel like. In April of 2023, news broke that Rick was being sued by his mother, Joanne Harrison, over a disagreement about the ownership of the gold and silver pawn shop and other family assets. Joanne was married to Rick's father for 58 years, so obviously she had a massive stake in the pawn store. But get this, Rick made her give up her 51% ownership stake, and worse, he did it while she was admitted to the hospital after coming out of a coma. Not cool, man. In fact, Joanne claimed that she didn't even know what she was signing. When her husband, Richard, the old man Harrison, passed away in 2018, Joanne received his ownership stake in the pawn store, but Rick didn't give her the company's full financial picture. According to her, more than $500,000 worth of cash and silver hasn't been accounted for. And you know what this means. Rick's wallet is in serious jeopardy. His mother's lawsuit is seeking unspecified damages, a fresh accounting of the assets, and a court order banning Rick from accessing Joanne's money. Those funds have now been placed in a constructive trust over her property. Rick, of course, has a completely different version of how all of this went down, claiming his 81-year-old mother's being used by someone as a pawn. Pun intended, and you've got to admit, it was a good one. And if getting sued by his own mother wasn't bad enough, Joanne filed a restraining order against Rick, preventing him from selling the family's possessions because he stopped sending her payments from her share. Rick used to give her recurring payments of $25,000, but stopped in 2020, so she's pursuing legal action to have them reinstated. The restraining order also forbids Rick from moving or hiding cash assets or taking any other steps that would undercut her involvement in the family biz. I don't know about you, but that sounds perfectly valid to me, especially when you consider the fact that Joanne's 81 years old and needs 24-hour care because of her many health conditions, which can cost up to $15,000 a month. By the way, did you know that this isn't the first time money caused rifts in this family? For years, Pawn Stars fans could count on the Harrisons being at the front desk, always ready to take a chance on unusual and lucrative valuables. Throughout it all, the relationship between the old man, Rick, and Corey remained constant. Don't get me wrong, the men knew how to push each other's buttons, but you could always sense the family's love for one another. Well, almost. Old man Harrison died a rich man, so his wife, sons, and other close family members received a large portion of his estate. But fans were shocked to learn that the old man had 2 other kids and didn't include one of them in his will. All 3 of Richard's children and his wife were named as beneficiaries in the original will, but only a year before he died, he signed an amended will, cutting out his son Christopher. Damn, the Harrisons are brutal. Speaking of brutal, you guys remember the way they axed our girl Olivia out of the show? That's right, Olivia Black, a cast member of Pawn Stars, was fired from the show after some nude pictures of her resurfaced that revealed her modeling past. But things got confusing when she claimed to still be working for the company, and that she'd only been fired in front of the cameras. Turns out, Harrison also admitted that he hadn't fired her, and that it was the production's decision to keep her out of the show even if she continues to work at the pawn store in real life. But then Black allegedly sued them for doing that and resumed her modeling career. Believe it or not, it gets more confusing. During her Reddit AMA, she denied there was a lawsuit and instead publicly asked to be put back on the show. But when that never happened, she quit the job for real. Well, the shady antics of the Harrisons are nothing new, and the 3rd generation is hellbent on making it worse. Yep, I'm looking at you, Corey. 2014 saw Corey Harrison put on a show for the ironically named Spectators Bar. What can you expect from an alcohol-filled rager on a night out in Jefferson City? I mean, I'd hoped it wasn't public indecency, but hey, that's just me. According to reports, Corey and a few of his motorcycle buddies chose to stop in Missouri, where Harrison partied hard for 7 nights in a row. But on this specific night, he took it too far. Corey downed an unholy amount of shots, before not only exposing himself, but also urinating in front of the crowd. Yep, the guy took his pants down, peed on a bar stool, and was apparently very proud of it. A staff member had to clean up after him with a towel, but the show hadn't ended for Harrison Jr., who picked up a bar stool and threw it, after posing for fan photos with his pants down, which obviously led to him being kicked out of the venue. And no, this wasn't the only time the guy was up to no good. In 2021, Corey Harrison was in the news again, and for all the wrong reasons again. You see, Big Hoss took a little trip to the California desert in a rented RV. William Villafana, the RV's owner, claims that Harrison reportedly failed to return the RV on time. And to make things worse, when it finally came in, it was damaged. Apparently, Harrison's assistant called to report that they were involved in an accident and were going to have the RV towed back. But it was another 2 days before the completely wrecked car finally showed up. Villafana claimed the RV's awning had been ripped off. That's in addition to the bodywork damage you'd expect from a collision. Plus, empty bottles and eggs were found littered inside. I don't even want to imagine what went down in that RV. According to the owner, the damage was going to cost up to $30,000 to fix. Villafana also claimed that the condition of the vehicle forced him to cancel 10 reservations. He also added that Harrison's refusal to pay for the damages meant he had no choice but had to call the police and submit a report against the TV star. Pawn Stars has its fair share of run-ins with the law, but let's be honest, Austin Chumley Russell is hands down one of the shadiest guys on there. Remember in 2012 when he was seen fighting with a man in Hollywood before running away? Yeah, that doesn't spell out anything but shady to me. Chumley maintained he acted in self-defense because the man threatened to pull a gun on him and his friends, despite the fact that the victim was left wounded and beaten by the side of the road. But then came a scandal 4 years later that Chumley couldn't crawl his way out of. He was detained in 2016 after being taken into custody on suspicion of 20 felonies. Yeah, you heard that right, 20. Turns out, police raided Russell's home as part of their investigation into allegations of sexual assault against him, which led to the arrest. Now, even though the allegations of sexual assault were eventually dropped, Chumley had to deal with fresh legal issues because of what was discovered during the raid. Police reportedly seized a huge laundry list of narcotics, including Xanax, meth, and marijuana. They also found 12 weapons, 8 of which were unregistered, along with traces of cocaine on his stuff. He ultimately entered a plea to avoid going to jail. And despite the seriousness of the charges against him, the Pawn Stars expert had a positive attitude and vowed to start over. According to the conditions of his plea agreement with the prosecutors, he went through drug counseling and treatment and had to make himself available for random drug testing. After sticking to those conditions to the T, he was cleared of all charges and returned to the show, where he continued to be a fan favorite. So from Chumley's run-in with the law for allegedly dealing in drugs and weapons, to Rick Harrison being sued by his own mother, that's the truth behind your favorite Pawn Stars experts.